Hello, I'm Brandon Wong. This is Nightline. The top stories. Government to announce special additional package for SMEs. And Singapore closing workplaces, schools as COVID-19 cases jump. Good morning. Good news for those who qualify for the Bantuan Prihatin Nasional BPN financial assistance. Finance Minister Datuk Seri Tengku Zafrul Aziz, in an exclusive interview with TV3 on Friday, announced that the aid will be dispersed in stages beginning next week. Malaysians who qualify will be notified by the Inland Revenue Board through SMS or email regarding their eligibility for financial assistance starting April. The minister also said the government is looking into a special stimulus package to help small and medium enterprises, SMEs, sustain their business operations and employment. The special additional package will be presented to the Cabinet next week.
Ini adalah package tambahan. Ini menunjukkan kita pun responsif lah dengan masalah-masalah yang dihadapi oleh PKS. Jadi saya dengan rakan-rakan saya di Kementerian Kewangan akan membuat cadangan di Kabinet, dan kalau Kabinet meluluskan cadangan yang diberikan, Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri akan buat pengumuman lah minggu depan.
The government's 250 billion ringgit Prihatin Rakyat economic stimulus package rolled out last week has been touted as all-encompassing under the theme "No One Left Behind." However, the SME Association of Malaysia President Datuk Michael Kang said the industry does not benefit much from the package and predicts that at least 50% of SMEs would close down. The government has now exempted the RM1 cash withdrawal charge at all bank ATMs. Senior Minister for Security Cluster Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said this is to avoid crowding at the over-the-counter teller service.
Pengecualian RM1 ini akan bermula pada hari Isnin 6 April sehinggalah tamat tempoh PKP ini. Ini akan memberikan ruang dan kemudahan kepada rakyat kita supaya menggunakan ATM yang disediakan.
Datuk Seri Ismail said that many were seen opting for the teller service when withdrawing money to avoid paying the RM1, hence crowding the banks. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri, who is also Defence Minister, reminded people to practice social distancing while lining up to use the ATM machines. Meanwhile, Malaysian scholarship students stranded abroad are asked to stay put at their respective countries and not travel back to Malaysia just yet. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said they will be given aid by their corresponding sponsors to pay for rent and food.
Ibu bapa tidak perlu bimbang, ramai mengatakan anak mereka dah sepatutnya pulang, jadi keuangan mereka tidak mampu untuk membayar sewa rumah, untuk membeli makanan dan sebagainya. Maka kerajaan melalui penaja-penaja ini akan membantu mereka dari segi tempat tinggal dan juga makanan dan sebagainya.
The government, through education sponsors such as Majlis Amanah Rakyat, MARA, Public Services Department, JPA, Higher Education Ministry and Petronas, would provide financial assistance to students who have completed their studies but were not yet able to return to Malaysia. As for reports of Bangladeshis stranded in Malaysia without food, he said foreign embassies were responsible for their own citizens. The embassies have to report to the District Disaster Management Committee so that aid can be given to them. For those in Kuala Lumpur, they can contact the Crisis Management Centre under Kuala Lumpur City Hall, DBKL. Datuk Seri Ismail also said that Ramadan bazaars are not allowed as long as the MCO is in force. He said if the MCO does not end before the end of Ramadan, then a standard operating procedure SOP will be put in place for it to operate.
Kita akan menyediakan SOP post PKP ataupun selepas PKP. Maka soal yang berkaitan dengan pasar Ramadan dan sebagainya akan ditentukan selepas ini. Sama ada boleh dilaksanakan ataupun dilaksanakan dengan SOP yang tertentu. Cuma selagi PKP 2 ini diteruskan ataupun tiba-tiba ada PKP lain, pasar Ramadan tidak dibenarkan.
He said the decision was reached by a special ministerial committee based on feedback from Kuala Lumpur City Hall, DBKL. So far, several states, including Malacca, Selangor, Terengganu, Pulau Pinang and Kedah, have announced that Ramadan bazaars have been cancelled this year. Meanwhile, at a separate press conference on Friday, Health Director General Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said local authorities may consider introducing a creative approach to replace conventional Ramadan bazaars if the ongoing MCO was extended throughout the fasting month. He also noted that the behaviour pattern among the people when interacting among each other has changed since the first phase in the enforcement of the MCO. Dr. Nur Hisham said Malaysia may continue to ban mass gatherings for the rest of the year, even after the MCO is lifted.
Dari segi bazar Ramadan, mungkin kita perlu adakan idea-idea yang kreatif dan inovasi di mana kita lihat dalam tempoh fasa pertama MCO ni ataupun PKP, kita telah lihat peningkatan 70% penghantaran makanan ke rumah, iaitu Grab Food. Mungkin kita boleh wawarkan bazar Ramadan di mana makanan boleh dihantar ke rumah.
He said these could be alternatives to having the usual Ramadan bazaar, as they cannot predict if the spread of COVID-19 would dissipate enough to allow people to resume their normal lives by next month. A total of 217 new COVID-19 cases were reported on Friday, bringing the total cumulative confirmed cases in the country to 3,333. Dr. Nur Hisham said 3 COVID-19 fatalities were also reported, raising the death toll from the virus in the country to 53. One of them was an 84-year-old Malaysian woman, or case 2561, while the rest are case 2122, a 52-year-old local man, and case 2034, a 73-year-old local woman.
Sehingga kini, seramai 108 kes positif COVID-19 sedang dirawat di unit rawatan rapi. Daripada jumlah tersebut, 54 kes memerlukan bantuan pernafasan. Daripada jumlah
He also said 58 of the new cases were related to the Sri Petaling Mosque Tabligh gathering cluster. The increase in confirmed cases was due to the active case detection screening conducted at localities placed under the enhanced movement control order. A total of 138 healthcare workers have also been tested positive for COVID-19 as at noon yesterday, but none of them were infected from dealing with COVID-19 patients. There is no problem allowing an individual to travel more than 10 kilometres during the MCO if health services such as clinics or hospitals exceed the distance. Health Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Adham Baba said this as a certain flexibility was allowed by the government for people in need of medical attention. Commenting on concerns from the public on the new room for the MCO, Datuk Seri Adham assured that it is not an issue.
Mereka yang memerlukan rawatan, juga mereka yang memerlukan esensial keperluan esensial, serta mereka yang memerlukan untuk mendapatkan ubat-ubatan. Tidak ada satu sebab untuk menghalang mereka untuk pergi lebih jauh daripada 10 km sekiranya perkhidmatan kesihatan lebih daripada jumlah kilometer yang disebutkan.
Datuk Seri Dr. Adham spoke to reporters after visiting the Quarantine and Treatment Centre for Low-Risk COVID-19 cases at the Malaysian Agro Exposition Park, or MEPS, in Serdang on Friday. The centre, which can house 604 stable COVID-19 patients with light or no symptoms, is expected to be operational 3 weeks from now and will help prevent government hospitals from being overwhelmed. So far, 40 hospitals nationwide have been gazetted as treatment hospitals for positive COVID-19 cases. Almost 40% of the capacity of all the hospitals have been utilised, involving 6,917 hospital beds for COVID-19 patients. Earlier, Senior Minister of Security Cluster Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob had also clarified that police can use their discretion to allow people who wish to travel more than 10 kilometres to get food or medical supplies. Now that the MCO has entered its second phase, the Education Ministry will introduce television-based learning sessions through Radio Television Malaysia's channel TVOK starting next week. Its Minister, Dr. Muhammad Razi Majidin, said the TV-based learning programs will offer a series of practice sessions for students facing public examinations this year, particularly those without internet access. The senior cabinet minister also said, although the ministry had before this issued guidelines, teachers have been given some leeway to adopt the best approach to be used to ensure effective implementation of the teaching and learning process throughout the MCO period. He added the ministry had also conducted a survey since March the 28th on what devices or gadgets were used by students at home. Some 500,000 parents of 700,000 students responded to the survey. And it was found that almost 80% of secondary students and 36% of primary pupils own smartphones. However, for other devices, such as tablets, desktops or laptops, the rate was quite low, at between 5 and 14% only. Based on the survey, although many students do have access to the internet, this was mostly via smartphones, which can make their learning process difficult, especially if it requires them to complete assignments or tasks. Malaysia's economic growth is projected to be between -2% and 0.5% in 2020. According to Bank Negara Governor Datuk Nur Syamsiah Yunus, this is due to weak global demand, supply chain disruptions and COVID-19 containment measures both abroad and domestically.
The growth in the first half of this year will be significantly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, the movement control order, and continued supply disruptions. While economic activities is expected to resume when the MCO is lifted, demand conditions are expected to remain soft, as travel aversion and social distancing will continue. Globally, as the COVID-19...
Datuk Nur Syamsiah said this at a virtual press conference in conjunction with the release of the Central Bank's Annual Report 2019, Economic and Monetary Review 2019 and Financial Stability Review Second Half 2019. For the second half of the year, Bank Negara foresees the country's economic growth to improve gradually, driven by the continuation of large-scale infrastructure projects and the cuts in overnight policy rates, OPR. The bank also expects Malaysia's economy to rebound in 2021 in line with the projected global recovery. Malaysia's total trade recorded a double-digit growth of 11.6% to 136.28 billion ringgit compared to the same month last year. According to the International Trade and Industry Ministry, MITI, higher trade was recorded with the USA, Singapore, South Korea, China and Taiwan. Exports, meanwhile, picked up sharply by 11.8% to 74.45 billion ringgit, while imports expanded by 11.3% to 61.83 billion ringgit. During the same period, Malaysia also registered an increase of trade surplus, jumping 14.1% to 12.62 billion ringgit. This was the largest trade surplus record for the month of February thus far. On a month-on-month basis, trade, exports and imports posted a decline, while the trade surplus increased by 4.9%. Still to come on Nightline, woman claims trial to calling police idiot. Stay with us. Welcome back. Several Sarawak ministers have been put under quarantine for being in close contact with an individual who later tested positive for COVID-19. This comes alongside reports that Assistant Transport Minister Dr. Jerib Susil was tested positive for COVID-19. Dr. Jerib was admitted to the Sarawak General Hospital on Thursday. According to his aide, he was infected after coming into close contact with one of his workers. In the meantime, Deputy Chief Minister Awang Tengah Ali Hassan, Sarawak Disaster Management Committee Chairman cum Deputy Chief Minister Douglas Unga Embas, Welfare, Community Wellbeing, Women, Family and Childhood Development Minister Fatimah Abdullah and Sarawak's Housing and Local Government Minister Dr. Sim Kui Hian have also been ordered to undergo self-quarantine as they attended a meeting with Dr. Jerib on March the 27th. None of them have tested positive or shown symptoms of the virus. In Selangor, a woman who allegedly called a policeman idiot during the MCO roadblock has been charged with disorderly conduct and obstructing a civil servant from carrying out his duty at the Petaling Jaya Magistrates Court on Friday. Sales manager Tong Po Kim, aged 44, however, pleaded not guilty to both charges that were read before Magistrate Nur Shahira Abdul Salim. According to the first charge, Tong was alleged to have acted in an impolite manner towards Corporal Izwan Hashim Nur Hamza by shouting the word idiot at him at Jalan Persiaran Surian. If convicted, the accused can be fined not more than 100 ringgit. Meanwhile, on a second charge, the accused, on the same day, time and place, was alleged to have prevented Corporal Izwan Hashim from carrying out his duties. For this, she faces up to 2 years jail and a fine of up to 10,000 ringgit or both if convicted. Nur Shahira allowed the accused bail of 1,000 ringgit for the first charge and 3,000 ringgit for the second charge with one surety. The court also set May the 20th for mention and submission of documents. In Pahang, a Japanese senior citizen was among 11 individuals charged at the Kuantan Magistrates Court on Friday with violating the MCO. The 81-year-old man was detained by police after he was caught taking pictures of birds at Taman Gelora on March the 27th. The elderly bird watcher, along with 10 others aged between 18 and 56, including a woman, pleaded guilty to committing the offence before Magistrate Nur Izzati Zakaria. They were fined between 800 and 1,000 ringgit each in default of 3 months jail. All of the offences happened between March the 26th and 30th around Kuantan. Takaful Malaysia has contributed 250,000 ringgit to the Media Prima NSTP Humanitarian Fund in supporting the effort to combat COVID-19. The donation received will be distributed for the purpose of purchasing critical medical equipment and other requirements to assist in the recovery efforts of infected patients. According to its group CEO, Datuk Sri Muhammad Hassan Kamil, the contribution is in line with the company's corporate philosophy to give back to society. Datuk Sri Muhammad Hassan said this would help hospitals to provide medical equipment, including protection suits, ventilators, masks and COVID-19 testing kits. On the other hand, Takaful Malaysia is providing deferment of Takaful Keluarga contributions for up to 3 months to the affected participants and an addition of free advance protection worth 2,000 ringgit. COVID-19 death toll in Indonesia rises to 181. Don't go away. On to the foreign front. Singapore's Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong on Friday announced a near-total lockdown for a month, with most workplaces ordered to close, while all schools and universities will switch to home-based learning after an alarming increase in unlinked local COVID-19 cases. The city-state recorded its 5th death on Friday, along with 65 new confirmed cases, bringing the total number of infections to 1,114. In an address to the nation, Lee said the government will also tighten restrictions on gatherings to help reduce the risk of a big outbreak occurring, which would then allow the authorities to relax some of the measures. During the 1-month period, while most workplaces will be closed, essential services and key economic sectors such as food services, markets, transportation and key banking services will, however, remain open. The President also announced that the government will unveil additional stimulus measures to boost the economy for households and businesses on Monday. Meanwhile, in Thailand, the government has imposed a curfew banning all people nationwide from leaving their homes between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. starting Friday, in its latest move to contain the spread of coronavirus. Its Prime Minister, General Prayut Chan-o-cha, in announcing the curfew, called for calm and asked the public not to stock up on food, as they will still be allowed to go out during the daytime. The Prime Minister also warned that any individual who breached the order will face a 2-year jail term. It was also understood that exemptions will be made for essential staff, including medical workers, food and fuel transport staff and postal services. As of Friday, Thailand's Public Health Ministry reported 103 new COVID-19 cases, bringing the total to 1,978, with 4 new deaths, raising the death toll to 19. Out of all the patients, 581 cases have recovered and were discharged from hospitals. In Indonesia, the death toll from COVID-19 in the country climbed to 181 after 11 new deaths were reported on Friday. Meanwhile, 196 new cases were recorded, bringing the total infections to 1,986. However, according to the government spokesperson for COVID-19, Ahmad Yuryanto, there are also as many as 181 patients who have recovered from the disease. Jakarta, home to some 10 million people, suffers the highest number of deaths, totaling 90, followed by West Java, 25, Central Java, 18, Banten, 14, East Java, 11, and the rest recorded in other areas. Following the spike in the number of infections, the government has turned Wisma Atlet Kemayoran apartment towers in central Jakarta into an emergency hospital intended to treat as many as 24,000 COVID-19 patients. FAM staff to take pay cut if the movement control order is extended. Stay tuned. The Football Association of Malaysia, FAM, will impose salary deductions of between 10 and 20% on its administrative and technical staff if the Movement Control Order MCO is extended beyond April the 14th due to the COVID-19 outbreak. Its Secretary-General, Stuart Michael Ramalingam, in a statement on Friday, said the pay cut of up to 20% during the duration of the crisis would depend on their respective salaries. According to Stewart, this was following an in-depth discussion with the FAM Exco and top management on various aspects since COVID-19 has forced all local football competitions to be suspended. Stewart said all FAM administrative and technical staff have agreed in an effort to ensure FAM's financial stability to navigate through these difficult times. He also noted that this decision was made in the best interest of all, including the organisation as a whole. In addition to that, FAM also thanked its staff for their commitment to the organisation, especially during this period. On Wednesday, FAM former Deputy President Datuk Sri Rizwan Sheikh Ahmad suggested that Malaysian League players take a 50% pay cut to help their teams weather the financial impact of COVID-19. Johor Darul Takzim JDT became the first M-League team to announce the salary deduction of their players, coaches and staff in an effort to ease the burden of the reigning Super League and Malaysian Cup champions. Now let's take a look at what has been installed on the front pages of Malaysia's main newspapers today, Saturday, April the 4th. The New Straits Times publishes a 3-page extensive report on how Malaysians come together in these difficult times, while the nation's best-selling Malay daily Harian Metro focuses on how the COVID-19 outbreak is affecting our online food delivery. And finally, Berita Harian highlights a report on the use of educational TV programs for students during the MCO. Be among the first to get your copies today. In Germany, Bayern Munich have been ensuring that their players stay sharp during the coronavirus lockdown by holding online group training sessions. The latest session was led by renowned German freestyler Sebastian Lauderer, who put the players through their paces in a skilled session. From the comfort of their homes, Thomas Müller, Manuel Neuer and company did their best to match Lauderer's fancy footwork to varying degrees of success. I'm Brandon Wong. Thank you for tuning in and take care.